Hello, my name is Miss Peck and I teach at Heron High School, and today we will be talking about 1.2 non-metric conversions. So please get out your physics notebook, be sure to write today's date in your notebook, and then write 1.2 non-metric conversions. Last class we talked about metric conversions. How can we go from one metric unit to another metric unit? However, today we're going to take it a step farther and be able to convert even more units. We're going to start with a little bit of review from math. How do we multiply fractions? We first multiply the numerators together and then the denominators together. So for example, we would do 3 times 2 is equal to 6. Then our denominators, 4 times 3 equals 12. Next, your math teacher taught you could reduce this answer. 6 twelves is the same as 1/2. We can divide both 6 and 12 by 6 to give us 1/2. Then you started to learn that you could also cancel something on the numerator and denominator if you have the same number or they both can divide by the same number. So here I see a 3 on the top and a 3 on the bottom, so I can cancel those. Why can we cancel these 3's? We can cancel them because 3 divided by 3 equals 1, and multiplying by 1 does not change the value of an answer. We're now going to talk about how we can keep thinking about that idea of canceling something on the top and the bottom to help us solve for non-metric conversions. We can use a technique called factor label when we have to make a non-metric conversion. We're going to start with an easy one. Say this line right here is 6 feet, but we need to know how long is it in yards? Some of you guys could do this quickly. 6 feet, you may know, is the same as 2 yards because in 1 yard, there's 3 feet. Therefore, in 2 yards, there's 6 feet. We're now going to talk about the steps to take to get your answer. So please write down these steps that we will be taking. Step number 1 is to always start your calculation with your original measurement. Please write this step down. Step number 2 is multiply the original measurement by a fraction that has original unit and denominator. Pause the video and write that down. Step number 3 is to place the new unit in the numerator. Pause the video and write that down. Step number 4 is to use an appropriate conversion factor to find the needed number. Pause the video and write that down. We talked about a conversion factor. What even is a conversion factor? Be sure to write this down in your notes. A conversion factor is a ratio expressed as a fraction that equals 1. We can use this to convert between units. So an example we just talked about is 3 feet equals 1 yard. We could also write this as 3 feet divided by 1 yard, or 1 yard over 3 feet. They both equal the same thing. And since they equal the same thing, we can put one on the top and one on the bottom. So now we're going to think about what if we had to convert 1,200 feet to yards. We said before, step 1 is to always start our calculation with the original measurement. Our original measurement was 1,200 feet, so we do 1,200 feet over 1. Be sure to write this example down in your notes as we work through this. Note, you don't always have to put the 1 here, but I typically see that most students find it helpful to keep your fractions organized by putting the 1. Our next step is to multiply the original measurement by a fraction that has original unit in the denominator. So here we have feet in the numerator, so we're going to put feet in the denominator. Note, do you see what is going to happen to the feet once we multiply? Think about it. Next, we place the new unit in the numerator. So we want to get to yards, thus we put yards in the numerator. Note, before we go any further, we need to review the big picture of what we are trying to do with this calculation. So we said we're trying to get from feet to yards. So, do we know this conversion? What numbers would we have to place here? The original and final answer represents that line. The conversion factor must equal 1 because the line that we're talking about measuring is not changing. But as written, it does not equal 1 yet. 1,200 feet is not just equal to 1,200 yards, so we need to add some numbers in. We need to know the conversion factor. We will always give your conversion factors to you. So for example, we would tell you 3 feet equals 1 yard. So step number 4, we said, is to use an appropriate conversion factor to find the needed numbers. Our conversion factor is 3 feet over yards. So if we looked at the conversion factor before, we see the number 3 goes with feet and the number 1 goes with yard. Thus, we put the 3 next to the feet and the 1 next to the yard. Now we see that this fraction is equal to 1. To find the answer, we must multiply all the numbers in the numerator and divide by all the numbers in the numerator. So we multiply 1,200 times 1 to give us 1,200, and then 1 times 3 to give us 3. So 1,200 divided by 3 is 400 yards. Notice that feet cancel out because if I have a feet on the top and a feet on the bottom, we can cancel that out, and I'm left with yards. So 1,200 times 1 divided by 1 times 3 gives us 400 yards. Next, we're going to do an example. We want to convert 8 ounces to milliliters. I start with what is given over 1. That is my step number 1. Next, I put my units from the numerator to the denominator in my next fraction. And then I write the unit to where I'm going to, which in this case is milliliters. Now I need to choose my conversion factor. Well, it gave it to me. 1 ounce equals 29.6 milliliters. I now want to write this as a conversion factor. So that would be the same as 29.6 milliliters over 1 ounce. Therefore, I need to realize 29.6 goes with milliliters, and my 1 goes with my ounce. So 29.6 milliliters over 1 ounce. And I'm left with 236.8 milliliters, and I see that my ounces cancel out, and I'm left with milliliters from doing 8 times 29.6 milliliters. Here's one more example. We have 215.8 pounds over 1 is what we start with. Next, we write our conversion factor. We know that pounds needs to go on the bottom, and we want to get to kilograms, so that will go on top. Our number 1 goes with kilograms, 2.2 goes with pounds. So this is what we write next. And my final answer, I see that my pounds are canceled, I'm left with kilograms, and my final answer would be 98.09 because 215.8 times 1 divided by 2.2 gives me 98.09 kilograms. There are times that you might need to use more than one conversion factor. If I had to convert from feet to kilometers, but I'm only given feet to yards and kilometers to yards, I may need to do 3 steps to get to the right place. I can't go from feet to kilometers without knowing that conversion factor. However, I may need to do some problem solving to get there. So I still start with what's given over 1, so 1,200 feet over 1, and then I do my conversion from feet to yards, and then my conversion from yards to kilometers to get my answer. So I can see that feet would cancel out, yards would cancel, I'd be left with kilometers. All I have to do now is multiply everything on the top and divide it by everything at the bottom. We're going to look at one more problem that we need to do more than one conversion factor. If I converted 60 miles per hour and needed to convert that to meters per second, I will have to use more than one conversion factor. Be sure that you're writing these examples in your notes. I start with my given fraction, which is 60 miles over 1 hour. If I don't see any number there, I can assume it's a 1. I next use my conversion factor, and I think it's easiest to start with what's on top. So I'm trying to get from miles to meters is where I need to be. So I put miles on the bottom here, and I'm going to meters. I look at my conversion factor. 1 mile goes with 1,609 meters. And then next, and I see that my miles cancel, so I'm left with meters on the top. Now I need to go from hours to seconds. So hours on the top, seconds on the bottom. 1 goes with hour, and 3600 goes with seconds. And I'm left with an answer of 26.8 meters per second. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure that you fill in any missing notes and rewatch any videos that you found confusing. There is a 1.2 IP for homework. Make sure you complete that before class and write down any questions that you have for your teacher that they will go over next class. Have a great day. Bye.